Hello, welcome back to the most dangerous podcast. Anyone watching on YouTube will see that it's been a royal fuck up tonight so far. So first of all, we've had to draft in our super sub Tyler. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, Fraser. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, good. Bit of stress tonight.
I was worried when you said super fuck up. I thought you were referring to me.
No. It's always good to have you on the show. It's more just James has obviously had a last minute thing. He can't record tonight. So you've kindly come on and joined us to fill in his place. But anyone watching the video will also see that we're not recording as usual. It looks different. And that's because Podcastle, who we always use, have let me down as well, bastards. So anyway, a little bit different, but you can still hear our voices and Tyler's silky Welsh tones there. So yeah, I went to see the Manic Street Preachers recently.
Really? How was that?
People, yeah, Wales's finest band, in my opinion.
Oh, Stereophonics.
Yeah, well, I know. Yeah, they're close, I would say, but I think the Manics have the edge. It was brilliant, and I saw the Flaming Lips the following night, which was like being inside an acid trip at a 5-year-old's birthday party. More recently saw Huey Morgan, the front man from the Fun Loving Criminals. So
really,
yeah, I've been to a few gigs. So yeah,
oh, nice. Fun Loving Criminals is a long. It's been a long time since I heard them.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Actually, he was fantastic, and I felt like a teenager. Apart from I couldn't dance because of my arthritis. So yeah, not quite a teenager.
You sure? Was it a case of you were dancing but you couldn't stop?
I know I couldn't start. Definitely couldn't start, especially on the non-alcohol beers I was drinking as well. So are you well? Everything good?
Yeah, I'm very well, Fraser. You know, happiest Friday. We've got a long bank holiday ahead of us, so bank holiday Monday as well.
I'm not really working much for the next 10 days because I'm working Tuesday, a little bit Wednesday, and then going camping Thursday to Sunday. And of course, this weekend I'm off, so a little bit of a break. It's nice.
Very nice. Camping, though. Oof.
Yeah, just with Laura and Teddy.
Oh, okay.
So 4 of the kids aren't coming, so it should be a wee bit easier, hopefully.
Very nice.
Taking the favourite, you know. Sorry, my kids don't listen to this. No one does. So because of all the fuck ups, we're recording late, so we're just going to steam on with it. Is that okay, yes. Tyler?
Yeah, let's do it.
As our super fan, you know that we're doing flights just now.
Mm-hmm.
And I've picked a flight that everyone knows. The Hindenburg disaster.
Okay.
Fucking balloon went into. I always thought it went into a pylon. But from this research, it actually didn't.
Okay, I'm kind of curious because I think everyone knows the Hindenburg, but now you've mentioned about the pylon, I don't think I actually know how it got to the catastrophic disaster or the end that it was. So I'm interested to hear this.
Well, you're going to learn. Also, where did it happen?
I would assume Germany.
Yeah, so did I. Right, let's go.
Okay, let's do it.
So basically, airships, they go right back to the mid to late 1800s. And they started with basic gas-filled balloons when they realized that hydrogen gas made things float because it was light. Everyone knows hydrogen's number 1 on the periodic table. So it's the lightest element on Earth. And if you put it in a bag or a balloon, it shoots up in the sky. And if you want to get really scientific, it doesn't float up. The heavier air falls down and pushes it up.
Okay.
So, yeah. So back in the sort of mid to late 1800s, when they sort of discovered hydrogen, they realized that it makes things float. But the sort of main breakthrough when they started developing airships was a chap called Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin, who created the first rigid-framed airship. So he basically made a big frame out of metal, covered it in tarpaulin. I'm making this sound really basic. And filled it with hydrogen. And by doing that, by filling it with hydrogen and it not leaking, it could actually stay afloat forever, essentially. It didn't need any power to be up because the hydrogen was lifting the airship. And so they then built like little planes underneath it. You've seen the pictures, little kind of capsule underneath it that had all the people in, with little propellers that could be quite basic propellers because they weren't having to propel the plane to lift it off the ground. They were just literally guiding this airship through the sky.
Okay.
So, you think back to, I think it was the sort of early 19. It says he built the first one in 1900. So, this is early sort of technology times. This is amazing. We've got this big fucking ship we can fly across. So by the 1930s, they obviously became more and more popular because you could actually travel the Atlantic. You could cross the Atlantic in an airship. It was quicker than a boat. It was more luxurious because you're basically floating. You're not on a big ship on the waves. You like your boats, even the big cruise ships move about, don't they?
Yeah.
And they offered long distance travel. So because of the hydrogen, they can just float all across the Atlantic, don't need loads of fuel. Germany became, this is why a lot of people think of Germany. Germany became the world leader in building the massive Zeppelins to carry passengers about, and they actually delivered international mail. So they were big postal things. So that's a little bit about how we got to using the airships.
Okay.
I always think about, is it the Last Crusade, Indiana Jones?
Yeah.
You go up in an airship in that, don't they?
Yeah, there wasn't.
That's about my only reference I can think of where I've seen an airship in a movie or anything.
Oh, there was.
Sure,
there was this
fight, and he's like,
oh, there was another film, like, oh god, it starred Jude Law. It's going to bug me now. I might even Google it during the podcast. But there was this whole battle sequence on the airship, and like typical Hollywood, like even though this airship is full with air, like the slow hourly descent.
yeah.
But sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's got a tiny little hole in it. So something that always ran through my mind was, I mean, back then, I know it was like the 1900s, but they weren't idiots. They were very good scientists back then. Why did they use hydrogen? First thing you learn about hydrogen is it's explosive and it's very flammable. So why fill these big airships with hydrogen? And you always think, why didn't they just use helium? But what I've since learned about researching this is hydrogen's much cheaper and easier to produce. And I didn't know until recently, helium is a finite commodity. It's a finite resource. You can't actually make helium. It's almost impossible to make. So all the helium in the world comes from basically the oil and gas reserves underground, and we extract helium from it, amongst other gases. But helium is actually running out, and we have between, I think it's 40 to 100 years of helium left on the world.
Wow.
Because as you can imagine, anytime helium escapes, fucks off because it floats. So anytime we discover helium, if we don't bottle it and keep it, it goes away into the atmosphere. So that's why they used hydrogen. But they tried to build these airships a little bit like your favorite ship, the Titanic, where they built all these separate zones in it so that if one zone leaks, the other zone, doesn't leak. It's not just one big vessel at the bottom.
Yeah,
so these airships, they had lots of little compartments of hydrogen so that if something happened to one of them, the other ones would be all right. And that was their safety measures. That's about as far as it went.
I have a funny feeling in this podcast that didn't work.
It didn't work. No. Like the Titanic. Yeah.
True.
We've got all these separate containers of air, but we didn't consider them all ripping right across. These shit happens, doesn't it? Yeah, so going back to their safety measures, another thing they actually did was they were really terrified of static electricity. So as the ships were coming down to Earth, they'd actually drop like a grounding rope so that it would touch the ground first and the spark would be down there before it landed. But yeah, ultimately, these were just bombs. These were big, fucking massive bombs with a little capsule of people on the bottom of it. So moving on, the Hindenburg disaster itself. So the airship was named the LZ-129 Hindenburg, as we've mentioned several times. It was built by, I'm going to try this, Luftschiffbau Zeppelin, and it was operated by the Deutsche Zeppelin Reederei. And it was one of the largest aircraft ever built. It was 804 feet long. So it was produced in Germany. It was a big German. Yeah. And I think that's why everyone thinks this happened in Germany, because it was a big German airship. It could cross the Atlantic, and it carried around 50 to 70 passengers. So they didn't actually, as luxurious as they were, they didn't actually carry that many people. But they were usually first-class passengers.
Right, okay. That makes sense.
No Irish dancing on the ground floor or anything like that. It's just first-class passengers. It had a dining room, a lounge, promenade windows, and even a smoking room, believe it or not. That's like having a fucking smoking shelter at a petrol station, isn't it? Smoking room.
Don't throw your fag butts up.
Yeah, that's it. We were driving to south of France when I was a kid, about 15, 16. And at Dover, before the ferry, there's like the biggest petrol station in Britain. Must have about 60 pumps. My dad's right in the middle of it, filling up the car, and we took my granddad with us. And while my dad's filling up the car, at that side, my granddad fucking lights a fag, and he's like flicking the ash out the window. You know, one of those things when you look at it and you think, there's something weird about this situation. And you go, put out.
And meanwhile, we're not allowed mobile phones at the forecourt.
Yeah, true. I've heard that bollocks.
Yeah, it is,
well,
apparently.
You're not allowed mobile phones at the forecourt, but you've got to use them for the fucking pay at pump.
This is true now. Actually, that's a very good point.
So it's ridiculous. So the Hindenburg, it was a symbol of German engineering and national pride. Their big bomb, big hydrogen thing. So its final voyage on May the 3rd, 1937. Just quite weird because this was like right before the war. There was there was the First World War. I know people forget about this. It was the First World War. And then after that, like Germany just integrated with everyone again. We were flying from Germany to US and stuff, and it was all fine again. Until that little shit Hitler got involved. But I think in 1937, the Nazis were already starting to... The Nazis were a thing. They were like almost like a political party or a movement, weren't they?
Yeah. So most of them get started.
Yeah. So it left Frankfurt in Germany, and it was bound for Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey. So that's just below New York, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
On board were 97 people, which is weird because it says they carry between 50 and 70 passengers. So it was obviously full. 36 passengers and 61 crew. That's how first class it was. That's what 2 crew for each passenger.
Mm.
The captain was Max Pruss, a veteran Zeppelin commander. So the journey across the Atlantic was smooth, but weather over New Jersey was rough, thunderstorms, high winds, so the landing was delayed. So on May the 6th, at around 7:25 p.m., so it was at night, which would have made this look way more spectacular.
Yeah.
The ship attempted to dock, and something went horribly wrong. Witnesses reported seeing a small flame near the tail section just as the landing lines were dropped to the ground crew. And within seconds, the Hindenburg erupted into a fireball, which you can imagine is full of hydrogen, isn't it? Is hydrogen the most flammable gas?
I'm not too sure. I mean, it's going to be... surely it's in like the top 5.
What are you basing that on?
That I can't think of the other 4.
I don't know, because you think with it being one of the lightest elements, usually the lighter ones are the fastest moving molecules and stuff like that. So I always thought it was one of the most explosive. I can't think of any other gases. It was methane, stuff like that.
Propane,
yeah. But anyway, it's a reactive gas, so you can imagine it just it took 37 seconds for it to crash to the ground in flames.
Wow.
So casualties and survivors. So 35 people on board died, 13 passengers and 22 crew. One ground member was also killed.
Was it like
what the fuck is that?
Was it like Austin Powers, the guy in front of the steamroller going, no?
Yeah. Oh, look at that big fucking thing. Is it on Friends where it's over 1 people a year are killed by blimps? So I'm sure Chandler makes up Ross was killed by a blimp or something. This poor out walking his dog.
Just
it just tickles me. Poor guy. Probably had a family. But remarkably, 62 people survived. So, obviously, if it was landing, it probably didn't crash that much.
Yeah.
And they're at the bottom, so you tend to think the heat and the flames go upwards, don't they? But yeah, 60. Many of them injured and some burnt. So, some were a bit crispy bacon. But the survival obviously came down to where they were located in the ship and whether they jumped early or were pulled from the wreckage. So because it was going down, but it's going down quite slowly, some of them did manage to jump and get out of the way. That would be me throwing children behind me. So the exact cause is still not actually confirmed.
Okay.
We don't really know. Mostly, the most accepted theory is that there was a static charge. So they think that there was possibly like a small leak in it. Because they did say that they saw a flame from the back, so maybe there was a small leak, static charge like that, and then boom.
And you mentioned a storm.
And the storm, yeah. Some people suggested sabotage, but there was no evidence to support that. And some have blamed the outer coating of the airship, which is made of flammable materials. Oh, it does make you wonder. You look back and you think, like, what was Da Vinci about? Was that like the 1500s or something like that? They were clever people. But there was someone that decided to wrap the big flammable ship up in flammable materials.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe the engineer was kind of like, guys, we're okay. If the fire's inside, we're okay. But if it's outside...
Yeah. It's like parents wrap their kids up in those flammable princess outfits. There you go. Go and be a princess. Stay away from the candles.
Yeah.
And when we were young, we got shell suits, didn't we?
Yeah. Oh, God, the shell suits.
All the kids going on fire with shell suits.
Serves them right for winning the shell suit.
Yeah. Lose your shell suit and your perm in one go. But obviously the real issue is you can't fill a big ship with flammable gas and fly people around in it. Not a good idea.
Well, I mean, it was never a good idea from the outset, was it?
No. So the media coverage was intense. Radio broadcasts. Imagine, how do you broadcast something like that on the radio? I always remember Billy Connolly said when they were young, they used to listen to the fireworks on the radio on a bonfire because they didn't have a telly. He said it was just a guy with cellophane crackling it. Listening.
So some guy in the background going,
yeah. Boom, bang, boom, boom. Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah, so the shocking photos were the thing. There's a famous photograph of it sort of half on fire, half falling from the sky. And I'm sure in that picture there's a fucking pylon. That's why I always thought there was a pylon involved. I thought it hit a pylon.
Yeah.
But did they have pylons in the 1930s? I suppose they must have.
I would have.
Electricity and stuff, yeah.
I would have thought so, but then I suppose if you look at it, even if you look at today's pylons in terms of height, as opposed to the height this balloon would have been at.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really add up.
I was ranting today about birds getting hit by cars.
Why?
Well, cars are like, what, 5 foot at a push? Birds can
Yeah.
fly as high as they want. Why are they getting hit by cars? You know? Fly higher. There must be a point in, like, I know evolution doesn't work that quick, but there must be a point where birds say, if we all fly a bit higher, none of us will get hit by cars.
Well, I don't think we're there yet, or they're not there yet.
Obviously not, because there was a dead seagull at the side of the road today, and I thought, fuck, did he get hit by a car? Stupid. So the most famous broadcast came from Herbert Morrison, who recorded commentary, especially the line, "Oh, the humanity."
It's starting to rain again. The rain had slacked up a little bit. The back motors of the ship are just holding it just enough to keep it from... It bursts into flames. Get it started. It's flying, and it's crashing terrible. Oh, my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames, and it's falling on the mooring mast, and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, the flakes 400 or 500 feet into the sky, and it's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the flame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. All the humanity and all the passengers screaming around it. I can't talk to people. There's Fraser on there. I can't talk, ladies and gentlemen. Honest, it's just laying there a mass of smoking wreckage. And everybody can't hardly breathe and talk and screaming. Lady, I'm sorry. Honestly, I can hardly breathe. I'm going to step inside where I cannot see it. Charlie, that's terrible. Listen, folks, I'm going to have to stop for a minute because I've lost the voice. This is the worst thing I've ever witnessed.
So the Hindenburg, it naturally ended the airship era. After that, no one was like, I'm not fucking going on one of them. No, not a big fireball thing. And the Zeppelin flights were all immediately suspended. So it was just the end of the airships. Because naturally, an airship of that size, you can't get that amount of helium. It was too hard a resource. And would you get in one filled with hydrogen?
No. But then I going back to the whole Titanic thing, you know, you're surrounded by water, like thousands of meters of water, ice cold water, and yet you still will get on a ship that will cross the Atlantic. Admittedly, the odds are low, but
thing is, you were told it was unsinkable, weren't you?
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know. You got lifeboats and stuff like that. We were discussing, we took Teddy to Broughton Airport where Airbus is, you know, where they make the big wings for the 380 and stuff. And they have these planes called belugas. Have you seen them? You're quite nerdy into stuff. No? It looks like a beluga whale, so it's like a normal plane.
Oh, okay, yeah. I know.
Hump on the back. So we found out the beluga was taking off at like 9:35 today, and there's a little cafe right at the end of the runway, so you can see the beluga, like right there, right? And while we're there, there was, after the beluga took off, there was a little helicopter going up and down, and we had the conversation that if you're on a plane and all the engines fail, there's a chance to glide down. There's always that chance in a plane. In a helicopter, if the engines fail, that's it. It's game over.
Yeah, well, and we've seen that many times in America, haven't we?
Yeah, there's been a few recently, sadly. But I suppose a boat's like that. If you're on a cruise ship and it starts sinking, it takes a little bit of time. There's lifeboats, stuff like that. But if you're in the Hindenburg, it catches on fire. Not a lot you can really do.
Yeah, I suppose it goes back to what did you say? 37 seconds.
Yeah. Not enough time to think, really, is it?
No.
So that was the end of the Hindenburg. The other thing was in the 30s, the airplane technology obviously got better, and there was World War II. From war, there's always tragedy, but war, there always comes a lot of rapid development. So because of the war, they had to develop planes quicker, and airplane travel took over. But so that's the sad story of the Hindenburg. And obviously, their legacy that's left is you still get airships to this day, but usually they're small advertising blimps and stuff like that, or they're used. They're helium. They're used for TV events, sports coverage, where they'll fly over a stadium with cameras and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the story of the Hindenburg.
Yeah, I always remember the Goodyear blimp over American stadiums.
Yeah, Goodyear blimp. It was always that, wasn't it? Or in The Simpsons, it's the Duff blimp, isn't it? Still something I wouldn't, even full of helium, I don't think I'd go up. I wouldn't go up in a hot air balloon. I'm not trusting my life to wicker. Sorry.
Well, you don't feel comfortable in a picnic basket?
No, not something fucking woven by monks or whatever it is, the wicker baskets that they put you in.
I find that very hard to believe, that you don't trust, the picnic basket below you and an open flame above you.
No. I've always wondered, what if the balloon moves a bit and the flame gets the balloon? I assume by now they've stopped making these things out of flammable materials. Stupid.
You'd think so.
Right, I'm going to have to love you and leave you.
Okay.
I really appreciate you stepping in tonight, Tyler.
No. It's fine. Thank you very much, sir. Happy to do it.
Yeah, bit of a odd setup tonight and a quick podcast, but yeah, I blame Podcastle.
It's okay. I reckon it was James sabotaging.
Possibly, yeah. He's like fucking logs out the account.
He changed your password.
Anyway, my friend, right, I better go because my house is going to become very busy soon.
Okay.
But
Thank you, Fraser.
Soon. Thanks, Tyler. That has been the most dangerous podcast, the Hindenburg disaster. Live long and prosper, my friend.
Take care, everyone.
See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.